Your grandmother didn't replant her garden every spring. She was smarter than that. She planted once and harvested for decades. While we buy seeds every year, her plants kept producing year after year without asking for anything. These 20 perennials fed families for generations from a single planting. This is a story of quiet abundance, of a living pantry that began with a single weekend of work and kept feeding children and grandchildren long after she was gone. Now, let's meet those 20 perennials. Number 1. Chives are the simplest proof that a single planting can last a lifetime. After tucking a small clump into the soil, you are rewarded with slender green shoots ready to cut within just a few weeks. Each spring, the patch returns larger and thicker, offering a steady supply for soups, salads, and baked potatoes. Chives do not just multiply, they divide. Every few years, you can split the clump and create endless free plants for yourself or to share with neighbors. Their purple flowers are not just pretty. They are edible, adding a mild onion flavor and a splash of color to any dish. With a lifespan of 10 to 20 years or more, chives quietly anchor the perennial kitchen garden, thriving on neglect and rewarding even the most forgetful gardener. In second place, mint is the herb that refuses to quit. Once a single plant is tucked into the garden, it sends out underground runners, spreading fast enough to take over a whole bed if given the chance. That is why some gardeners choose to plant mint in pots or sink root barriers into the soil, keeping its ambitions in check. Others simply let it run wild and enjoy a lifetime supply. Mint is nearly impossible to kill once established. Drought, frost, and neglect barely slow it down. For decades, one patch can provide endless leaves for tea, cooking, and old-fashioned home remedies. The real decision is whether to contain mint's energy or embrace its wild abundance. Either way, a single planting means you'll never need to buy mint again, and the same roots can outlast the gardener who first put them in the ground. Third on our list, oregano is the Mediterranean classic that thrives on pure neglect. Once established, its woody stems survive even the harshest winters, coming back each spring thicker and more fragrant than before. Oregano does not just flavor sauces and stews, it is a pollinator magnet, drawing bees and butterflies to its tiny purple blooms all summer long. That means a single planting quietly boosts the whole garden's health, with no extra effort required. With a lifespan of 15 to 20 years, oregano outlasts most annual herbs by a mile. Harvesting could not be simpler. Snip the stems, dry them, and you will have jars of homegrown seasoning that keep indefinitely. For gardeners who want resilience with zero fuss, oregano proves that a little old-fashioned wisdom goes a long way. Number 4, sage is the heirloom herb that ties the kitchen to memory. In so many family cookbooks, dried sage was the backbone of Grandma's poultry seasoning, rubbed with salt, sealed in jars, and sprinkled into holiday stuffing or Sunday roast. Even now, the scent of sage brings back those meals. In mild climates, this woody herb stays evergreen, its soft, silvery leaves ready to pick year-round. A single plant can thrive for 15 to 20 years, needing little more than a light pruning after bloom to stay healthy. Beyond the kitchen, sage leaves steep into a soothing tea for sore throats, a remedy as old as the garden itself. Easy to grow from softwood cuttings, sage is both a living spice rack and a living memory, one that endures season after season. Number 5. Thyme is the workhorse herb that quietly does double duty in the garden. Whether you choose creeping thyme to carpet the ground or upright stems for easy picking, a single planting can last 10 to 15 years with almost no care. Thyme shrugs off drought, poor soil, and cold winters, spreading slowly into a fragrant, permanent patch. In the kitchen, it's an essential ingredient, flavoring roasts, stews, and soups year after year. But thyme's real magic happens underground. In a decade-long Cornell trial, garden beds planted with thyme supported 20 to 30% more beneficial soil microbes than tilled annual beds. That means healthier soil, less erosion, and a garden that gets richer every season. For anyone wanting a living mulch and a steady supply of fresh herbs, thyme proves that Grandma's wisdom is now backed by science. Number 6. Sorrel is the perennial green that signals spring before almost anything else. Its bright, lemony leaves push up from the cold ground while most annuals are still weeks away from sprouting. For generations, sorrel was the first taste of fresh salad after a long winter, a tradition nearly forgotten in modern gardens. Cut and come again harvesting means you can snip leaves for soups or salads all season, and the same clump keeps producing for 10, 20, even 30 years. Sorrel thrives in damp corners and partial shade, filling a niche where little else grows. Its sharp citrus flavor wakes up tired taste buds and brings a dose of vitamin C right when it's needed most. Plant it once, and you'll have the earliest harvest in the neighborhood, year after year, with almost no effort at all. Number 7. Egyptian walking onions turn a simple patch of soil into a living, moving supply of onions. Instead of seeds, these onions grow little bulbs, called bulbils, right at the top of their stalks. When the bulbils get heavy, they tip over and plant themselves a few inches away, making the whole patch slowly walk across the garden year after year. With almost no care, you can harvest the greens in spring and the small onions below ground whenever you need them. The original planting keeps multiplying itself, so there is always a fresh supply. No replanting, no fuss. Some families call it Grandma's self-perpetuating onion patch, a source of endless flavor that outlasts even the memory of who first tucked those onions into the earth. With a lifespan that is practically indefinite, one planting can feed generations. Number 8. Horseradish is the root that refuses to leave. Once a single piece is planted, even the tiniest fragment left behind will regenerate into a whole new plant. Every fall you dig sharp, spicy roots for the kitchen, but the patch always returns, thicker, deeper, and spreading quietly underground. Some horseradish beds have lasted for over a century, outliving homes and gardeners alike. Its deep roots do more than flavor roast beef. They stabilize soil on slopes and hold ground through heavy rains. But permanence comes with a warning. Horseradish is nearly impossible to eradicate, so choose your spot carefully and consider barriers if you do not want it to take over. In the right place, it is a legacy crop. One planting, 100 years of harvests, and a living reminder that some roots are truly forever. Number 9. Jerusalem artichoke is the root that turned empty lots into survival pantries during the Great Depression. Families who planted a few tubers in the 1930s found themselves digging up food for decades, sometimes from patches that kept growing long after the house was gone. Jerusalem artichoke spreads underground, sending out new shoots each year until the patch quietly takes over its corner of the yard. There's no need to replant. Just dig what you need, leave a few tubers behind, and the harvest returns year after year. Even today, you will find these plants thriving in forgotten gardens and abandoned homesteads, proof of their unstoppable nature. With a mild, nutty flavor and a reputation for surviving drought, neglect, and even hard freezes, Jerusalem artichoke is still one of the most reliable ways to turn a single planting into a lifetime of food security. Number 10. Rhubarb is the pie plant that quietly anchors family gardens for decades. Once a crown is tucked into the soil, it wakes up early each spring, sending up thick red stalks before most vegetables have even sprouted. For more than 20 years, the same clump can keep producing, with almost no attention beyond a little compost and water. Every few years, you can dig up the crown, split it into pieces, and start new plants for free, often shared among neighbors or passed down to grandchildren. Rhubarb is a heavy feeder, but its deep roots help hold soil in place and prevent erosion. Harvest begins in the second year, and with regular division every 3 to 5 years, one original planting can feed generations with pies, jams, and compotes, each bite a taste of spring and a memory of home. Number 11. Asparagus is the ultimate lesson in patience paying off for decades. After planting crowns in a carefully prepared bed, it takes 3 years before you can start harvesting those tender green spears each spring. But once established, that same patch can keep producing for 20 to 30 years, sometimes even longer. The roots grow deep and strong, anchoring the soil and holding the garden together through floods and droughts. Weed control is most important in the early years, but after that, the tall ferns shade out competitors and protect the bed year-round. Harvest stops by early summer to let the crowns recharge, and the rest of the season is spent quietly building strength for next year. With just a single planting, asparagus becomes a spring luxury that returns every year, feeding generations from the same patch. Number 12. Strawberries turn a single afternoon of planting into years of sweet rewards. After tucking a few bare root plants into rich soil, the magic begins. Each summer, runners snake out from the mother plants, rooting themselves and turning one row into a spreading patch. This is how Grandma kept her beds going for decades, pinning down runners to fill bare spots and digging out tired, unproductive plants to make room for the next generation. With a little mulch to keep weeds at bay and a quick renovation after harvest, the patch renews itself year after year. June-bearing varieties are refreshed each summer, while ever-bearing types get a lighter touch. No need to buy new plants, just let the runners do the work. A strawberry bed planted once can keep a family in berries, jam, and shortcake for 10 years or more, all from that first handful of starts. Number 13. Raspberries turn a single row into a living thicket that keeps giving for decades. Each spring, new canes push up from underground runners, quietly expanding the patch until you have more berries than you ever expected. To keep the harvest coming, it helps to know the difference between primocane and floricane varieties. Some bear fruit on first-year canes in late summer, while others wait until the second year for a heavy early summer crop. Pruning is simple but essential. Cut out old canes after they fruit, and thin the new ones to avoid a tangled jungle. With this rhythm, a raspberry bed planted once can stay productive for 15 to 20 years, or even longer. Choosing both summer and fall types extends the season, and a bit of row containment keeps the runners from taking over the garden. For families who want a steady supply of fresh berries and homemade jam, raspberries prove that a little attention pays off for decades. Number 14. Blackberries are the bramble that simply won't quit. Once a single cane is planted, the patch becomes nearly impossible to remove. Roots dig deep, and even a missed piece will sprout a brand new thicket. Their thorny canes do more than just protect the berries from hungry hands. They form a living fence that deters intruders, both animal and human. In some states, blackberries are listed as noxious weeds, and for good reason. Left unchecked, they can swallow fences, sheds, even small buildings. That's why smart gardeners train them on wires or keep them in rows, making harvests easier and the patch manageable. But the payoff is huge. Massive yields of sweet, juicy berries come with almost no input for 15 to 20 years or more. Grandma's bramble patch often outlived the farmhouse, feeding families long after the first planting was forgotten. Number 15. Blueberries are the acid-loving shrubs that quietly reward patience with decades of harvests. Once a bush is settled into soil with the right acidity, with a pH between 4.5 and 5.5, it can live for 50 years or more, each season bringing bigger yields than the last. The secret to a thriving patch is simple. Invest in soil preparation at the start, and keep the roots cool and moist with a thick layer of mulch. Over time, the bushes become a permanent fixture, feeding children, grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren. Many gardeners tuck strawberries at the base as a living mulch, turning one bed into a self-renewing polyculture that suppresses weeds and doubles the harvest. With just a little care, a single planting of blueberries can outlast the house itself, turning a weekend's work into a legacy of fruit. Number 16, currants and gooseberries are the forgotten fruits that once anchored Grandma's shade garden. These tough little shrubs thrive where other berries struggle, producing for 15 to 20 years with almost no attention. Their tart, jewel-like clusters were the backbone of homemade jams and jellies, filling pantry shelves every summer. In the early 1900s, planting them could actually get you fined. Federal bans targeted currants and gooseberries in a campaign to protect white pine forests from blister rust. Yet gardeners found ways to keep these bushes alive, tucking them into hidden corners and passing cuttings down through the family. Nearly pest-free and happy in partial shade, they need little more than an occasional pruning. Today, reviving a currant or gooseberry bush means reclaiming a piece of food history and turning a single planting into decades of sweet, tangy harvests. Number 17, grapes are the living proof that one planting can echo across generations. A single vine, once rooted and trained onto an arbor or a sturdy trellis, can yield fruit for 50, even 100 years. Some European vines are still productive after 4 centuries. Grapes are not just for eating fresh. That same vine becomes the source of homemade wine, jelly, juice, and raisins, turning a backyard into a pantry that never empties. Propagating new vines is as simple as taking a hardwood cutting and pushing it into the soil. Each one grows true to the parent, so family favorites can be passed on for decades. Building an arbor or trellis gives the vines space to climb, and with minimal pruning, the harvest grows larger every season. For families who want abundance with a sense of legacy, grapes offer a harvest that outlives the gardener and leaves a story in every cluster. Number 18. Elderberry is the multi-purpose shrub that quietly weaves together food, medicine, and wildlife. Once a single elderberry is planted, it settles in for decades, producing clusters of dark, antioxidant-rich berries by its 2nd or 3rd year. These berries become syrup for cold season remedies, wine for special occasions, or the base for homemade pies and jams. But elderberry's story stretches beyond the kitchen. Birds feast on its fruit and, in return, scatter seeds across the yard and hedgerows, gifting you volunteer seedlings that pop up year after year. Pruning the canes to the ground every winter keeps the patch vigorous, renewing growth and extending the harvest for 20 years or more. Small farms have even turned backyard elderberries into thriving syrup businesses, proof that a single planting can ripple out into abundance, feeding families, healing colds, and nourishing local wildlife for a generation. Number 19. Fig trees are the living landmarks of entire neighborhoods. In warm climates, a single fig planted by a grandmother can outlast houses, fences, and even generations. Some trees in southern towns have been bearing fruit for over 2 centuries. The secret is their resilience. Figs root easily from cuttings, so one tree becomes many, shared among neighbors and family. Once mature, they produce 2 crops a year, the early breba and the main summer harvest, filling pantries with sweet, sun-warmed fruit. In zones 7 to 10, figs thrive with little more than winter protection and a sunny spot, quietly growing larger and stronger each season. Stories of century-old figs passed down through cuttings remind us that one afternoon of planting can echo for lifetimes, feeding families and weaving together a community's history. And finally, in first place, apple trees are the living heart of a family orchard. Planted once, they can bear fruit for 80 to 100 years. A single standard tree, grafted onto sturdy rootstock and given room to grow, will yield over 400 pounds of apples each season at maturity. That's pies, cider, sauce, and fresh eating for 4 generations from just one planting. With yearly pruning and a bit of care, the same tree stands through storms, droughts, and decades of change quietly feeding children and grandchildren who may never know the name of the person who first pressed its roots into the earth. Grandma didn't garden harder. She gardened smarter. One weekend of planting created decades of harvests. These plants are still available, still productive, still waiting to outlive whoever plants them. What you put in the ground today could still be feeding your family when you're just a story they tell. Grandma didn't garden harder. She gardened smarter. One weekend of planting created decades of harvests. These plants are still available, still productive, still waiting to outlive whoever plants them. What you put in the ground today could still be feeding your family when you are just a story they tell.